Baker, and as county executive, I was proud to deliver real progress for Prince George's. New businesses, more jobs, better health care, and we cut crime in half. But the work isn't finished.
Rushern Baker, endorsed by police, fire, and veterans groups. A proven leader we can trust.
There's a special election happening right now to decide the future of our county. This is no time for on-the-job training. Experience matters. I'm Rushern Baker, and I approve this ad.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Appreciate you all joining us. Sorry that it took us a little long to get on here. We had a couple of technical difficulties, but we're here. I'm going to bring Mr. B up here now so we can get the conversation started. Whichever platform you're on, please share so we can get some more folks on here. We had a really good audience last time. So we're back. Mr. B, how you doing?
I'm doing good. We're heading to the final week of the campaign. How are you doing?
I'm holding up. I'm holding up. It's been fun. So yeah, I just wanted to always give you a couple minutes to kick it off. Give us a nice opening, and then we'll start to ask some questions. And anybody who is viewing, no matter what platform you're on, please put your questions in the comments, in the chat, and we will be sure to raise those with him here.
Well, great. Well, first of all, I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. I know that you got a lot going on. This has been a busy last 60 days for us in this campaign. One of the reasons I've got, my fraternity shirt on is that we've challenged all of my fellow Alpha Chapter Omegas to come strong tonight as we close out this last week of the campaign. As I've gone around the county and talked about the critical issues we face here, I've been, heartened to know and happy to know that many people not only appreciate the work that I did when I was county executive for 8 years, from 2010 to 2018. But they understand that that is the basis for how we move forward. If you don't know how to reduce crime in Prince George's County, when now we've seen our violent crime raise somewhere right now, about 58%, our violent crime has been rising in the county. About 98% we've seen in carjackings and robberies are gone up. If you don't know how to reduce the crime that's happening in the county, then we're going to be in trouble. And so when I talk about the things that we did when I was county executive, reducing crime to the lowest level we've seen in almost 30 years when I was county executive. In fact, during one period of time, we saw our homicide rates drop to under 67%. We also reduce, the number of carjackings, the number of robberies in the county. At the same time, we reduce the number of arrests. And we increase our police department and our fire EMS, our sheriff's department, and our 911 operators and our park and planning police by the highest numbers that they've seen in the history of the county. That is one of the reasons I'm so proud to have the endorsement of all of those public safety unions. Because the police, the fire EMS, the deputy sheriffs, our park police, our 911 operators, and our retired civilians from the police and public safety looked at all of the candidates. 4 of the candidates in this race are currently in office. So we all have records. So they looked at their records and what they've done over the last 6 years, and they compared that to my record in what I've done, not only over the last 8 years when I was county executive, but what I can do moving forward. So having their endorsement is a big thing for me. The other endorsement that, when people talk about endorsement, and I'm not a big fan of just, endorsements for the sake of endorsements. There's political payback. I endorse you, you endorse me. The ones that I care about are the folks who actually have worked with you. And so for me, having someone like Derek E. Davis, who's the treasurer of the state of Maryland, a person that I went into the legislature with in 1994, who've worked with me over the past 30 years, who understands the budget at the state level and the local level and the fiscal crisis that we're in as a state and as a county. To have Treasurer Davis endorse this campaign, to me, means a lot, because this is somebody I've worked with. This is somebody who every day is dealing with the budget in Annapolis, which is about $2.1 billion in debt, and the budget in the county, which is $170 million right now. He understands that I know how to deal with this. So that's an endorsement I care about. But as we move into the last week of the campaign, this is where we need your help. This is it. We've made our case. We've asked you to look at our record, to look at the record of those who are in the race, and to compare it. And we think once you do that, that the choice will be clear, that we need, in these critical times, in these challenging times, someone who not only has the experience, but has delivered in the past. And so I'm excited as we go into the last week. I'm excited about talking to the voters, but I'm more excited about the fact that we're going to get the opportunity to make Prince George's County #1 in job creation again, to make Prince George's County the place that businesses and residents want to live, work, and play, and to see the reduction in our crime and build up our fire and EMS, our deputy sheriffs who protect us, our 911 operators, and build the kind of economy that people will want to come to make sure our seniors are safe in their houses, but to also offer an opportunity for families to grow. So I'm excited about the possibilities of what we're going to do, but we need your help. I look forward to answering your questions, and let's get it started.
All right. Hold on, let's see. All right. So there have been a lot of issues that we've heard voters talk about since we've gotten on the campaign trail. And I think it's getting a little bit more tuned in now to really 3 issues, and really 2 issues. One being property taxes and the other being crime. So I wanted to, I guess, hear your thoughts on property taxes right now. And also, I guess, what your plan is for the future to I guess, one, increase the tax base, but also the taxes as they're charged to the residents.
That is a big issue that people have raised as we've gone around these last 2 months in the campaign. And let me just deal with the property taxes. As someone who's spent the last 6 years as a private citizen, I feel it, immensely that our tax base, our property tax base, is too high. We need to cut it. I was talking to some senior citizens today and talked to them about reducing our property taxes. And so one of the questions comes up is, well, why didn't you do it when you were county executive? And the reason I didn't do it in reducing our property taxes is because when we came in, what we didn't see was our commercial tax base growing. So in order to reduce property taxes, which I think we should do, you have to grow your commercial tax base. When I took over in 2010, Prince George's County relied 70% on its property taxes and 30% or less on its commercial tax base. We were changing that. So when we were coming in, that's why you saw us focus bringing businesses here. That's why you saw the first project we did was Tanger Outlet at National Harbor. expanding what's going on at the Gaylord at National Harbor, bringing in MGM, which has been something that's boosted our economy by bringing in $47 million just to Prince George's County. But we didn't rely just on those. We also expanded our mixed-use development, which means if you look at New Carrollton today, it didn't look like that in 2010. We purposely built up New Carrollton into a mixed-use development where there's not only housing and condos, but there's also anchored by Kaiser Permanente. University of Maryland medical system has a place there. We have the IRS that's there. We have all that development around it to make it a place that we're getting our commercial tax base built in. The same thing if you go to Riverdale Station, where Whole Foods is. It's not just a grocery store. It's a place for restaurants, entertainment, and housing. So all of that is adding to our economy. Look at Baltimore Avenue. Before I was county executive, we called it Route 1. Now it's Baltimore Avenue, where you see a 5-star hotel right across from the University of Maryland, right next to a development for the Purple Line that's going to bring folks here. So in order for us to lower property taxes, which we should do, we've got to increase our business. That's why it's so important, for me to make Prince George's County the #1 in job creation. That allowed us to do when I left office in 2018 to actually leave or surplus, to leave an opportunity for Prince George's County to really lower the property taxes, which is what I would do. Because right now what people are doing are voting with their feet. The reason we're not the most affluent African-American county in the nation anymore, as I like to say, it wasn't because Charles County all of a sudden gave everyone who moved there, a raise in their salary. It was because people who lived here in this county, who had confidence in this county for decades, lost that confidence and started to vote with their feet and move out. We want them to come back, but they're not going to come back if their property taxes are too high and the amenities, what they want, aren't there. And so my thing is coming in, we lower the property taxes. It forces us to actually look at increasing our commercial tax base. And we do that by investing in something I created, which is called our Economic Development Incentive Fund, which is $50 million of our money that we put back into the economy to help grow small businesses and to help grow people who businesses that will hire other folks right here in the county. This is similar to what the Biden administration did after COVID with the Build Back Better. You invest in the economy, you invest in those small businesses, you grow them so that there are more people in the market giving more money to the county. And I would do that. The other thing is crime. That's why I said that, having the public safety endorsement says everything to me. These are the women and men who every day put their lives on the line. They're out there. They see it firsthand. They're the people who understand more than anybody else, if you're in the police department, why being down 400 officers is just crippling. It means people are working overtime. There's not enough response time to get to every place. And you can't focus on the critical things that will help reduce crime. The people who are out there every day, like our fire and EMS, they feel it more so than anybody else when they're making calls and they're 200 officers short. Our 911 operators, who are handling stress calls from all over, they feel it. Our deputy sheriffs, who now more so than ever are not only required to serve the warrants that we need to make sure we get outstanding, go after people who have outstanding outstanding criminal warrants, but they're also protecting our courthouses at a time when they're in jeopardy more so than ever. They feel the pinch of not having enough people. And so I want to make sure that we, go back to what was necessary when I was county executive and what's necessary in the future. And that is we fund the two most important issues first: our public safety, our fire, EMS, our police, our park police who are guarding those places where we want to be safe, recreating in the county, our 911 operators, and then our public education. Because if we don't have a first-rate public education system, and you have to invest in it, then people won't come here. And so those are the things that I would do to make us number one in job creation, but also make us a place everybody wants to be.
Yeah, and that's I mean, seeing a lot of this in the comments, would love to see more healthier options. As you see on the screen, Naomi, when she was originally purchasing her home, everyone was recommending Charles County due to taxes, but she wanted to remain in gorgeous Prince George's.
Thank you, Naomi.
So I'm gonna bring Chandler up too. We can go through some additional questions here. There she goes. Let me do it.
Hi, Chandler.
Hi.
Good to see you.
You too. Are there any questions in the chat or should I ask one?
You should go.
Okay, perfect. So as a lifelong Commanders fan, I want to know about what she will do to keep them here.
Listen, let me make this very clear. The Commanders aren't going anywhere. We're going to keep them right here in Prince George's County. I once again, talking to groups for the last couple of days, I've said to them, it's interesting or funny to me that every time the Commanders go to, or the Washington team goes to the playoffs, then some mayor from DC comes over and says, we'd like to bring them back to DC. If you remember the last time that happened, RG3 was the quarterback and we were in the playoffs. And then Mayor Vincent Gray said, hey, I'd like to get the Commanders or get the Washington team back to DC, and we'll give you Prince George's County, the FBI. And I said to the mayor at the time, I said, well, how about if we keep the Commanders and then I'll take the FBI? So I think, we're going to keep the team. I've negotiated with team owners before. I know what they want. They want a new stadium, and we want them to have a new stadium. I'd like for them to build a dome stadium so that we not only keep the team here, but we have the ability to attract a Super Bowl in this area. Wouldn't that be great to have the Super Bowl right here in the Washington region with fans coming from all over, spending money in our county and in the neighboring counties? But we need a dome stadium in order to be attractive to have that happen. So I'm for building a new stadium. I'm for building it in Landover, which I like to call downtown Prince George's, because since the team has been built, since the stadium has been built here in Prince George's County, a lot has happened over the last 25 or 30 years. And that is, if you look at the boulevard at the Cap Center, that's changed. We now anchor that area with a brand new regional medical center. That means there's foot traffic during the day. We have a brand new cancer center that was built there. And we also moved county administration offices to the Largo area, where the county administration building used to be in Upper Marlboro. It is now in downtown Largo, right near the Blue Line. And so we need to build a stadium. We need to have the amenities, and hotels have expanded there that we didn't have before. So we've got all the ingredients we need to make it a great place for fans to come, to spend the night, and to spend their money. And the other option I throw out there is, if you don't like Landover, the area that we built up around there, then there's a place that is our entertainment district in the county, and it's called National Harbor. Just think about it. National Harbor is home to Gaylord, one of the greatest hotels that we have in the United States, right here. And I think the best hotel in the Gaylord chain is right here at National Harbor. We have tons of hotels around National Harbor. We have Tanger Outlook Mall, which is now probably one of the fastest places where, growing places where people come and spend money from other jurisdictions. And we have this little project called MGM, which is a $1.4 billion development destination resort, which is one of the highest grossing in the MGM family, but also the highest grossing destination resort on the East Coast. And so if you had the stadium moved to National Harbor and put there, and there's land that's available, that's federal land that's available that we could get, that would mean that we would have the option of having everything located in one great entertainment district. We could bring the metro system across the Woodrow Wilson Bridge. So those of our friends who are in Virginia can get on an Eisenhower, come all the way over to Prince George's County. You get off the metro, spend the night, spend money, or when the weather's nice, you can take a water taxi from Alexandria or the Navy Yard or Georgetown right over to Prince George's County. Come, get on the wheel, and then go to a game. So I think we're going to be able to keep the team here. I feel really good about that. But you need to know what you're doing. So that we need a county executive that's participated in those developments, and I'll do that.
I don't know why it keeps switching me to the big screen here. I'm trying to switch you out, but
switch me out.
So wait, you're on the big screen? Never mind. So question is, well, one question that we've also been getting is about these endorsements, right? And so I guess what's your take on the different endorsements that we've seen for other candidates?
Yeah, I've said this to our campaign team all along. I've been involved in public service for the last 30 years. There are very few endorsements that make any sense unless they're people who know your work and who work with you. You know, we've seen endorsements by other candidates, whether it's the governor or whether it's someone else, endorsing people because, they endorse them, not based on their work in their current job or in the future. And so I haven't really sought endorsements that way. The ones that I did seek was public safety, because I spent a lot of time as county executive making sure and trying my best to build up our public safety because I know how important it is. The others are, as I said in the very beginning, folks like Derek Davis who know me, or Sidney Harrison, who we worked together not just when he became a council member, but when he was the clerk of the court. And so those are people who know my work and I know their work and they trust it and they're vouching for the actual work. I say to people all the time, our current senator, when she was running, I endorsed her over someone I knew. I knew David Trone. I know David Trone. And I've worked with David Trone on some issues that are very important, like Alzheimer's. But to be in the Senate at this time, we needed a voice that could speak to the moment. And I felt like the county executive was the right person. And that's why I backed Angela Alsobrooks. That's the same reason why the governor backed Angela Alsobrooks. Now, it's interesting that the state's attorney did not back her. And so, that makes it interesting that two people who actually supported the current senator because of the work that she can do, and so my thing about this is voters are going to make up their own mind. They're going to look at all of our records, and I implore you to do that. Look at what everyone who's in elective office has done for the last 6 years and ask yourself, is that the kind of government you want? For me, the answer is no. I don't want my crime going up. I don't want my property taxes going up. I don't want the quality of life and amenities going down. I want somebody who has a record of actually improving these areas that we care about. And so that's what I would say to folks who look at these endorsements. Look at where they're coming from and look at what they're based on.
Chandler, go ahead.
Okay. So there's a question in the Instagram chat asking you to compare your crime record to Miss Brave Boys. I actually have the numbers up in front of me, so I'll do that. I want to preface by saying that our campaign is dedicated to using the best data source there is, which is the FBI Uniform Crime Data Reporting System. And that's where all of the PG, PD, and all of the police departments across the country send their data in. It is then scrubbed by the FBI, undergoes like a rigorous verification process, and then it is put out. And so a big difference you'll notice between our numbers and Brave Boys numbers are that she's using the number 4 most reliable data source, which is annual police reports, which have not been scrubbed yet, which is why the numbers are so different. But we like to remain transparent and use the best data source possible that is used by law enforcement, the government, media, research, everyone. So,
And I should say before you read those numbers, I should say this, Chandler, is that
mhm,
those are the numbers we relied on when I was county executive. I
mhm,
told our police department and our public safety department, we want the best data, not something that makes us look good. Because if people don't feel safe, they aren't safe. Doesn't matter what the
mhm.
numbers say. So with that
Yes.
preface, I'll let you.
And then I'll do one more preface that Mr. Baker was able to do all of this without increasing arrests. So I know a lot of people have a fear of over policing, which is understandable as minorities. So he did all of this without increasing arrest. And then another thing I'll preface it with is that I actually compared the data compared to the rest of Maryland, DC, and the nation for how Mr. Baker did and how it is under Miss Braveboy. And you will see that under Mr. Baker, we are kicking butt on national averages. And then under Brave Boy, we are not doing well compared to the nation. Okay. Mr. Baker reduced homicides by 38%. They are now up 82%. He reduced robberies by 60%. They are now up 90%. He reduced assaults by 49%. They are now up 45%. He reduced burglaries by 68%. They are now, at least they're down now by 33%. Um, he reduced larceny by 42%. They are currently up only 4%. He reduced motor vehicle thefts by 53%. They are up 261%. Um, rape did increase at 41% and is now down at 10. He reduced arson by 51 and it is now down by 96. And he reduced total crime by 50% and is now up 47. And when you compare our crime on a local and national level right now, we are disproportionately outpacing the rest of Maryland, DC, and the nation. So it's not just a COVID thing where COVID crime is bad everywhere. It's really bad here. All right, I'll give it to you, Mr. Baker.
Thank you. I mean, one of the things that has come up as we've gone around talking about crime, which is one of the most critical issues we're facing here in the county, is someone brought up this incident is it wasn't just me alone. It was my leadership in bringing in what we call our Transforming Neighborhoods Initiative, where we focus not just on crime, but we focus on other things that were going in the wrong direction, whether that was truancy rates at our schools, dropout rates, lack of health opportunity, health disparity, lack of transportation, lack of job opportunities, all of these things that go into, um, you know, a situation where crime goes up. So T&I helped us do that. But critical partners to that was the state's attorney. Angela Alsobrooks was the state's attorney when I was county executive, and working together not only with her, but the deputy sheriffs and the sheriffs. Sheriff High was a critical partner. So were our park police. So were our 911 operators, which is why we focus on increasing those numbers so that we could have the adequate folks, and our fire and EMS, because a lot of times they were making those calls to make sure that residents had the services they need. So it was a team effort led by the county executive, and that's what we need to get back to. Get back to working as one unit, but also bringing back an effective program. Transforming Neighborhoods Initiative, better known to most people in Prince George's County as T&I, helped us not only identify, with crime, it helped us improve our response rate in all facets of government, whether that was picking up trash on the streets, whether it was making sure there's lighting around our apartment buildings and our people's homes, whether it was making sure our response time by our fire and EMS was what it should be and adequately staffed, or whether it was making sure our 911 operators had the equipment and things they needed to respond. So it was a holistic approach that we can use now to go back to lowering crime in our county. But it starts with the county executive. It starts with the person at top, bringing all those facets together. Another thing that we did under T&I was we expanded our summer youth employment program. We made it not just, a place where kids got a job, doing anything. It was exposing career opportunities to our young people so that they can make intelligent decisions about what they want to go into next, whether it was technology, whether it was the arts, whether it was working with your hands. we had these young people working on assignments, and we created an atmosphere where they could work all year round. So some of them are working for architectural firms right now while they're in high school, working on critical projects so that they can be exposed to what they're going to do. All of that helped reduce crime. And that's why we were able to reduce crime, but not increase arrests. And that was really important for us.
So you kind of hinted at within T&I, including the nonprofit sector. And there is a question here on Instagram asking about nonprofits and how will you help increase the funding for nonprofits?
Thank you for that question, and thank you for reminding me, Kevin. The nonprofit segment was a huge part of our Transforming Neighborhoods initiative. So it wasn't about just the government; it was about the nonprofit and faith community coming in to do the things that government doesn't do well or can't do. And so a great example was there are great summer youth programs by our nonprofit community that we supported. So this really was a public-private community effort. The community met with our T&I leaders. The nonprofit communities told us what they could do to help us, whether it was working with our returning citizens from our jails and our penitentiary, whether it was working with our kids who needed focus, attention, so they could be on a path, whether it was creating housing, affordable housing, working with organizations like or a faith community like the First Baptist Church of Glenarden to build a senior housing facility in Glenarden area, working together with them, or working with Pastor Macklin to redo Hampton Mall and to bring in a whole new look there and development. So the nonprofit community plays a vital role. And as somebody who spent the majority of their career in the nonprofit world, I worked for two nonprofits, one for 10 years and one for 8 years. And our job was to make sure that we stepped into the gap to be there for some of the things that the government couldn't do. And that helped us. If you look in our Langley Park area, expanding our healthcare access, that was because we partnered with our nonprofit community who had dual language programs in their repertoire, and we were able to actually work with them to expand it. So the nonprofit community is very important, and giving them the resources so they could really do their job well. And that's really what T&I was all about. It was access to government. So you know who is running the Department of Finance in the county. So if you're a nonprofit and you're doing work, you want to get paid. So you want to know who that director is and have that information. But also as a citizen, you should know, who's running our Department of Housing and Community Development. That's where we do our affordable housing. You should know who's running, our Department of the Environment. And so T&I brought those directors and deputy directors down to the grassroots level. And so it's not just, coffee with the police chief. They do a great job, or the fire department. But it's also coffee with DPI, coffee with everybody who's out there. So they saw you on a daily basis with our T&I.
Okay, well, you actually have a little bit of a follow-up question about T&I. So would you bring back your Transforming Neighborhoods initiative?
Yes, in a heartbeat, because I think, it's interesting, and I don't know why we walked away from it as a county, but just think about this. That program worked so well, it became a case study for the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. And so every year, I was county executive, and after I was county executive, the Harvard Kennedy School of Government would invite 20 county executives from around the country to a training session. And part of the training was how we did T&I in Prince George's County, because it was innovative. It was data-driven. It was response in real time. And so this is something that helped us shape not only transparency, but also helped us shape how we respond in government and how we respond to the community. And so it's definitely something that should be a part of our county government in a permanent way to make sure we're always, innovating and there's transparency, but we're also making sure there's accountability. And that's really what T&I was about.
All right, Kevin, is there another question in the chat or should I go?
Yeah, there's a couple actually.
Okay.
So one from Instagram, it says, can you share some fresh and new ideas that you envision bringing to the county as it relates to recreation and entertainment? But if I could say this before you answer that about the nonprofit funding, because I know the nonprofits haven't had as much funding as previous years. I think it was down to 1.5 million for this fiscal year. But what we do have to look forward to is cannabis legalization has brought a decent amount of money that has to go back into nonprofit organizations. So in year one, it's about $7 million that needs to be dished out to the community. So keep that on your radar as well. But so back to recreation and entertainment, what are your fresh and new ideas that you envision bringing to the county?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for talking about the cannabis. That's another opportunity for us to get money that we can put into our entertainment in the county. We want to expand our entertainment districts along with the 7 million that could potentially come from cannabis. You've got over $47 million that's coming to the county, but in the impacted area around the southern part, the $5 million fund that was originally set aside for the impacted area in MGM is now $10 million. So that means that we can use that to make Prince George's County really the entertainment district throughout. My vision for it is not just to have entertainment at National Harbor, but have an arts district that's expanding and robust around our Suitland, Capitol Heights area. We've got this great high school called Suitland, Suitland High School, Visual and Performing Arts, where we could actually have our children performing. These are kids who are going on to some of the best colleges and university and actually getting out there and working as musicians and dancers right away. So we want to make that area around Suitland in the area as one of our premier arts district. We're starting to see some of that in College Park, where see the arts district that's in College Park in Hyattsville that extends from the University of Maryland all the way down to the DC line. My vision is to take that across the DC line, to do a project with the District of Columbia and Prince George's County, where it's seamless in terms of art and entertainment and places and restaurants. And we can do that throughout the county. There are places that, in the northern part of the county that we should be looking at. And so what we want to be able to do is there's an idea that we put forth in my last year as county executive, but we didn't have the resources for it. And that was to try and make sure that Prince George's County got these independent movie producers and filmmakers to have the staging area right here in the county, to build this throughout the county so they can do that. But also the music industry. We tried like heck to get the Birchmere to come to Prince George's County when they were looking for a new home. We were outbid by Arlington. Well, have you ever been over to that site that they have in Arlington? It's still compact. There's an opportunity for us to look to that type of entertainment to come here. But the other thing I think is important, and this is where we use our EDI fund, is we have local talent right here in a variety of fields. Why aren't we funding that local talent to stay right here and do some of that stuff? And so my vision is to put a lot of work in that. Finally, something that I am going to work on that I think will help bring tourism here and really highlight the importance of Prince George's County is we had one of the most famous artists and curators of art living right here in Prince George's County for the bulk of his life, David Driscoll. He brought in some of the greatest African-American collection in the world. But he lived and passed away here in Prince George's County in Hyattsville. Now he left a body of work here, but it sits at the University of Maryland College Park, but there's no museum that highlights it. And so one of the things that I want to do is build a museum, the first one outside of DC. Well, Montgomery County built one outside of DC, so it'll be the second one outside of DC, but the first one dedicated to someone who had such an impact on artists of color, David Driscoll, and to have that museum right on Baltimore Avenue, right next to the Purple Line, bringing residents and curators and entertainment people who want to see the arts right to Prince George's County, where they can stay in our hotels, spend money here, but use it as a draw. And this has happened all around the country. You look at what Atlanta has done around an arts district and making a museum outside of downtown Atlanta to as a draw for folks to come. Minneapolis has done this. And so I think we can do it right here in Prince George's County. And we also can play upon the fact that we've become very famous for athletes, not just in basketball, but also in football, but also in tennis. We have one of the best training facilities for young athletes who want to go into tennis right here in Prince George's County. And that is JTCC, the Junior Tennis Academy, that's right there in College Park, where Francis Tiafoe went and learned to play tennis. But more importantly, they're sending a lot of kids to college. Well, this is something that's known worldwide. They have an international tournament that comes here where players from as far away as Shanghai, China, to around the corner in Montgomery County, to right down the street in Riverdale, Maryland, are coming to play. And so I want us to take advantage of that. And finally, there's a piece that Sheila Curry has worked on to bring the International Horse facility here in Prince George's County. That brings in riders and people, equestrians from all over the world. Why don't we expand that? Why don't we make sure that we're known for it? The Washington Horse Show, if I have the name correct, is right here in Prince George's County. Let's build that. Let's really expand on that and make this the entertainment capital of this region.
So we have some really good questions here. Appreciate everybody joining us. We have about 120 people on right now. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. We'll bring them up on the screen. If you're on Instagram, I'll have to read it off of Instagram because I can't actually put those on the screen, just giving you the heads up. But we have another question from Naomi. Let's check it out. It says, what are we going to do to bring healthier food options to the county? There is a dialysis center everywhere you look. We need healthier options. Most new establishments are fried foods.
Yeah, we really have to work hard at that. We need those dialysis centers, by the way, because we have a lot of people, unfortunately, that are on dialysis, and we want them to be able to come here in the county. But the way that we do it is, the reason we went after a lot of these shopping centers, whether it's Whole Foods or Harris Teeter, was to bring a greater option, or Wegmans under the Johnson administration that was done, to bring in a greater option. But one of the focuses that I think we should do is local grocers, that go into our mixed use development projects. Take, for instance, what we're doing at what used to be Hampton Mall, Kingdom Square, over where the Whole Foods, over where Home Depot is. In that facility that we're going to build there, where we're going to have all of our health agencies, whether it's Health and Human Services, whether it's Family Services and Veteran Services. We're also going to have a clinic, a health clinic there, but we're going to bring in a local grocer right there for those healthy options. The other thing is, we put a lot of money in my administration in the first term into folks who are growing, groceries right there in their neighborhoods. So if you look at some places in near Bladensburg and Colmar Manor, we need to do more of that so that we have local grocers right there, people growing right in their neighborhoods, and then take advantage of the fact that we have one of the two top tier research universities, University of Maryland at College Park and Bowie State University. These are places that they can help, our young farmers go out there and create healthy options for us. So in my administration, we really want to take advantage of that. And a way that we can get it out throughout the county is on these food trucks. There's no reason why we can't have healthy options available on some of the food trucks that we see. The beautiful part about this, there used to be a vegetarian option at Hampton Mall, and also those of us who remember back in the day at Howard University, there was a vegetarian place. I believe it's called Good Eats, right there where they didn't fry anything. It was all fresh, so we want to have that throughout and have restaurants that are opening up here that give options that are not just fried food. I'd like to see that. If it can happen in the District of Columbia, it can happen here. It doesn't have to just be big cities like New York or Chicago or LA. We can do that right here. And the way that we do it is we actually take some of our money and we invest in these businesses to come here and to grow here, understanding that it takes 5 years for a business to really establish itself. So we in the county, if we want healthy options, there are two ways to get it. It comes on its own, which we've seen that hasn't happened, or it comes by incentive. And for me, incentivizing folks to come here and to give us those healthy options throughout the county is what we want to see.
All right. Next question comes from Barry Hudson. And it says, when you win, you will inherit a budget that you didn't develop. How will your experience help you approach this challenge?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Hudson, for that question. You're right. When I win on March 4th, the budget will already have been prepared by the county executive's office. And that means the budget will be going down to the county council on March 15th. And the county council can only move the budget up, 5% or down 5%. And so I've experienced that before. When I came into office, I inherited a budget that I didn't create. And so what it meant was, I had to actually look and see where I could make changes. And so I know right away on March 4th, I'm going to start looking at the budget. So after the election, after we win on March 4th, March 5th, I will be looking at the budget that's being proposed and preparing for changes in that budget. And when I say changes, that means looking at each personnel, each agency that I know well, and seeing where we can actually start to develop cost-saving measures. But more importantly, I will have my second day is to call Wall Street and our rating agencies, and I have a meeting with them as soon as possible to talk about the vision for turning this county around and making our economy stable and thriving. I can do that because I've actually met with the rating agencies for 8 years, and they know my track record. And so I'll begin immediately looking at the budget. But the main thing I'll make sure is our public safety and our education system will be funded to the maximum amount that we can. And then we'll take our clues from there. And finally, let me just say this about the budget. While I understand the state has a, $2 to $3 billion budget deficit, whatever that is, that doesn't negate the fact that the state owes Prince George's County and is committed to making sure that our education system is funded to the tune that it needs to be funded. We have to hold the state accountable for making sure that they keep us whole. Remember, Years ago, we were the first jurisdiction that had a tax cap that actually lifted that tax cap and invested in our school system. We invested it by 4 cents. I wanted 15 cents, but we invested it by 4 cents. We bit the bullet. We made the hard decision. We invested in our schools ourselves. And now the state has to live up to its obligation that it said to us. The state said, if you invest in yourself, we will help you. Well, we did. And so we're looking for them to help us.
So you have a follow-up question on that, and someone is wondering on Instagram, how do you actually hold the state accountable?
We have the second largest delegation in Annapolis. I was the chair of the delegation. We hold some very powerful positions in Annapolis, chair of appropriation, budget and tax. We have leaders. But as someone, and we also have the other thing that we can remind the governor and other folks is, this is where the lion's share of the Democratic vote comes from. So the governor wouldn't be governor without us. And we have to remind them. And that's nothing, that's no shade on the governor. We did that with every governor we've had. When Governor O'Malley was there, who I'm very close with, I reminded him of the commitment that he made to Prince George's County. And, he lived up to it. But we have to remind them. I know that Treasurer Davis is doing that right now at the Board of Public Works. But we as a county and a county executive, it is my job, and it will be my job to go and remind the state of his obligation and to remind our members that whether you're in the House in Annapolis, the House of Delegates, or the state Senate, or a council member or a town council member, that all of us are committed to making sure that the second largest jurisdiction in the state, the lion's share of the votes that make that are responsible for making people get these offices that they have, that the state has an obligation to come in. The other thing I'll remind them as a former member of the Maryland House of Delegates Appropriation Committee, education is a state responsibility. They share it with us at the local level, but it is a state responsibility. And so therefore, when we go in and remind the governor of his commitment, but also of his obligation as a governor, then we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
So we got another good question here from Anthony Tillman. It says, what's one part of the county government would you give more attention if you're reelected?
I think the first question, the first answer to that is the county executive's office, because that's where all the change is made. The reason I ran for county executive the first time is because I wanted to be at the center of power where you can make the most change. Changing the county executive and having a person that knows what they're doing is the most dynamic change that can happen there. That allows you to focus on the critical issues that are hurting us right now. And if we're honest with ourselves, that's public safety. If people don't feel safe, living in the county, they won't invest in the county and businesses won't come. And the second thing is our education system. But it all starts with the county executive and a plan that's holistic about making this county what it should be. And so for me, being in the office, knowing what we need to do, knowing the agencies as well as I do, that's where I see the greatest attention is as county executive.
All right, so we have a rather interesting question, and I'll preface it with this. Obviously, we have run a commercial that has challenged State's Attorney Brave Boy's record on crime, and there, have been some concerns about that. But we do have this this question here, and it says, basically, if a man can't challenge a woman's record, how is it a campaign? And when did fact checking become misogynistic? And I just wanted to really get your take on that. And I know that from the campaign perspective, and I'll speak from this, is that it's certainly not personal. We love her. At the same time, it is a campaign, and you have to contrast yourself between other candidates. And she's polling well, right? And so I just wanted to get your thoughts on that commercial and what the intention was behind it.
I've, as I said, I've been involved in public service here for 30 years, and I've run campaigns, and I've had stuff when people challenge me on the things. Just think about it. During this election, it was brought up on numerous occasions, the fact that when I was county executive, we raised our property taxes for our education system. I didn't feel like that was an unfair slight on me. People raised it. Now, I know why they raised it, to put fear in the minds of voters, but it's a legitimate issue to bring. 2-day-a-week trash. I'll throw it out there. There are a number of people who I run into today who say, I'm mad at you, and I'm still mad at you for taking away our 2-day-a-week trash. Now, I'm willing to stand up and say why we did those things. Why it was good for us to invest in our education system ourselves, why that money went only to schools. I'm also willing to stand up and say, here's the reason why we cut down to 1-day-a-week trash, because the environment, global warming is real, that we have to think of better ways that we deal with our environment, and we were the only jurisdiction. So when we challenge someone on their record, it's on their record. Make sure it's not personal. These are friends of mine who are in this race, people I've known for years, people I've supported. But the facts are the facts, and we have to be grown-ups in these critical times. As I said to people, I have differences with a lot of folks. I had differences with the current U.S. Senator. But at the end of the day, I looked at her record and I looked at her opponent's record, David Trone, and I decided she could bring the best here. Now, there were folks who went after, Mr. Trone's record and things that he said. And there are things that people who've gone after the other ones. I say all this to say, as a campaign, what we want to deal with is, what are the facts? If you say you've reduced crime, if you say you're the top cop, then you have to stand up and deal with the issue. If you say crime has gone down, then we're going to check you on it. Just like when I said crime was gone down, people checked me on it. They said, here's what happened. So as long as we're not making it personal, as long as we're talking about our records and what we've done, then I'm comfortable with it. Like I said, I've known a number of these people, not just for 30 years. Some of them I've known for almost 40 years. And so when they talked about my record as county executive or as delegate, I took it as that. And so when I challenge people on their record, you've had 6 years in office. What have you done in those 6 years? I'm not challenging you after your first year or second year, 6 years. The same way I was challenged after 4 years as county executive, the voters wanted to know, what did you do if we want to ask for reelection? So as long as we're sticking to the facts, as long as it's on the record, and as long as it's not personal, then I'm very comfortable with that.
Sounds good. So you have another question here. Well, actually, no, I'm going to go to it because you did bring up David Trone, and I know Chandler certainly has her thoughts on the former congressman, and I'll let her ask the question. I know she has one.
I said I'll have to think of a question. I know I have my statements, but So I mean, obviously I am upset about David Trone. Okay, should I say my opinion? No.
Why not?
Okay, I think David Trone is trying to buy political power. He spent $60 million on his Senate campaign. He then got a bunch of Prince George's County Black officials to go slam Angela Alsobrooks in a commercial saying that she needed training wheels, even though she had 2 decades worth of experience. Now he is backing Aisha Braveboy and of the people that endorsed him, he has given over 50 of them donations as of April 2024. So, I don't even know what there's a question in there. I'm just perplexed. The more I look into it, the more upset I am. Kevin, can you make a question from that?
So, and I guess from Chandler's perspective, and with her kind of being new to the political environment and not understanding, I guess, the way that money and politics really run together. I guess what's your take on somebody like a David Trone dropping, $42,000+ on one person's campaign?
Here's what I think is that this is why it's good to have information for the voters to make up their mind. I've been very clear on David Trone as a person. I've supported him for a race for Congress. He and I have worked together on issues around Alzheimer's and other diseases, so I know him well and like him. So supporting candidates when there's a relationship there, it's always, to me, better. I supported him because I believed his work as a congressman on issues I cared about. And the same way that I supported his opponent, no diss to David Trone, but I supported his opponent based on her, decades of experience and the fact that I worked with her for 8 years and saw how effective she was as a state's attorney and then as county executive. And so what always, I think, makes voters a little leery is when you see no relationship based on the issues. And then it's, hey, I'll help you. I'll give you money if you help my campaign, and I think that's where people, should look at it with a jaundiced eye. What is the relationship between here? And I think during the race for Senate, there were a number of people who didn't have a relationship with Congressman Trone, but yet supported his campaign. And I think that's where people start looking at. And one of the things we brought up in this campaign is there's not a decade or even a year of working together for the congressman or the state's attorney. And so I think that's why people have brought it up. But once again, I think as long as the information is out there, is transparent for voters to see, why is this person interested in a race in Prince George's County and why are they backing that person? If there's not a real, way to understand it, then, I think people will look at it with a jaundiced eye. Let me say this because somebody might just put this in the chat and bring it up. I've supported people from other counties who have been running. I supported Chris Van Hollen when he ran for the U.S. Senate. And what I said to folks was the reason I supported Chris Van Hollen is because for almost 6 years, he represented part of Prince George's County. And anytime we had an issue, I could go to his office and get help. And even when his district was moved out of Prince George's County, he continued to represent us and provide help. So as county executive, I could call on Congressman Chris Van Hollen to support the issues and things that I have in Prince George's County, even over the objections of some of his folks in Montgomery County. And so when he ran for this U.S. Senate, we had almost 2 decades of working with each other, both when he was in the Senate and I was in the House of Delegates. And then when he was a congressman and I was just, an average citizen, I'd gone out of the legislature, but was working on K through 12 education reform, I could call on him. So my endorsement of him to run for the U.S. Senate was based on decades of working together. And I'm proud of that. And so I think when people see there's a connection other than quid pro quo, then I think they look at it differently. And so that's my statement on that.
We appreciate your insight on that topic. I felt like it was just something that needed to be talked about, so I figured I'd bring it up. So let's hold on. I want to go to one more question here, and then I want to take a commercial break. All right, and then we'll come back up. It'll be a 6-minute break. So, but it's for a purpose, because I want you all to watch this video just to get a refresher and reminder of the things that Mr. Baker did as county executive. But here's the next question from Mr. Tillman. How would you show the African American and Latino communities they are essential to the success of our county?
Thank you very much for that question, because they are. You know, our Latino community is the fastest growing population in Prince George's County, and not just, you know, coming in and in the workforce, but also in the business community, growing businesses, providing, you know, greater options for us to not only in terms of restaurants, but also in terms of building and plumbing and things of that nature. So there are two ways I think we have to do it. You know, when I was county executive, we created the New Americans Task Force, and that was looking at all of our immigrant population and our new population coming to the county, whether it was from, you know, Nigeria or California. It was making sure that people who moved to Prince George's County felt appreciated. And out of that, we had our Latino liaison to make sure that our Latino community was understanding the opportunities here in the county, both in terms of their business, in terms of education, in terms of resources. So you show you're committed by actually diversifying your cabinet, you know, not just with one person, but with multiple. And you also show them by saying to those African-American businesses in the county that we're going to support you. That's not just for those who are doing construction, but also in the legal, medical community and all around. And then we focus on those areas where we see have been neglected too long, which are usually places of color, that we focus on those areas, which is why T&I was so important. It allowed us to bring healthcare to parts of our community, whether it was Glass Manor or whether it was Langley Park, that hasn't been there for. So what you'll see out of this administration is one that celebrates the rich diversity of Prince George's County. That's our secret sauce, you know, our diversity. You know, it really is what stands us apart, is what makes people want to move here. And so we've got to capitalize on that. And as county executive, I will. And then for me personally, just to close out, you know, the wonderful thing about being raised in the military, living on military bases, is that it forces you to live in a diverse community, because the military and especially for me in Army bases, they come from all over the world, and you're in one community and you're with one team, and it's the Army in our case. Well, that's the same way here in Prince George's County. We want this rich melting pot, you know, diversity to come here, but it's one team. It's Prince George's County. And so we want to make sure that everybody grows with this county and has the same opportunity. And so we'll focus on that.
So we have a great deal of participation here. I appreciate everybody continuing to join in. We actually have woken up a bunch of folks. I got about 4 or 5 questions here on all platforms. But before we do that, I just want to take a bathroom break, and we're going to play this video for you all. It's going to go over the accomplishments of his first 8 years as county executive, and then we'll come right back.
We got work to do, and this is the man that can do it. And for that reason, ladies and gentlemen, I am giving all of my enthusiastic support to Rushern Baker to be the next county executive.
In Kennedy City on the Hill, he projected 4 years down the road and said, what do I want people to remember of this government?
Our success or failure in whatever office we may hold will be measured by the answers to 4 questions. First, were we truly men of courage?
Right now, say we are moving straight ahead.
Secondly, were we truly men of judgment?
Invested in economic development growth because we know in the long run, creating jobs and opportunities is what's going to get us back to what we should be doing.
Third, were we truly men of integrity? Finally, were we truly men of dedication?
That became the focus to me of what I hope to be the Baker administration. We were not willing just to sit on our hands or play it safe. We were courageous in going after economic development. Thriving economy was important at a $75 million budget deficit when we were leading the nation in foreclosures, when Wall Street was threatening to take away our AAA bond rating. And we believed in our county so much that we took $50 million and bet on ourselves to invest in ourselves. Having the thriving economy was important, and we did it. From National Harbor to the Suitland Town Center to New Carrollton. The other area where we were courageous, I believe, is our Transforming Neighborhoods initiative, where we said the government was going to focus on areas that I felt had been forgotten. The 6 areas of our county at that time that were in the worst shape. All indicators showed that those areas were going in the wrong direction. We were going to commit ourselves to not leaving until they change. I think the beauty of T&I in the areas is that there are groups of citizens who now know how to access and get government to deliver for them. When I took over as county executive, our school system had gone from 132,000 children to 124,000 to where we are today at 133,000. And we're gaining each year. People are now putting their kids back because they believe that our school system now can offer them a chance for them to get a quality education. Our education system is the best it's been in almost 35 years. For the first time, our education budget is $2 billion. We as a county committed to give more money ourselves, not from the state, but from the county to our education system. And it was hard. It was a hard-fought thing to do, but we did it as a county. The county is the safest it's ever been. If you think about the 2018 county executive race, crime was not the issue. I know that we've done a good job on safe neighborhoods. Not when I can look at the numbers and it tells me crime is down. It's that when I walk into a place and I talk to people and they feel safer, that they feel it themselves, then we know we've done our job. I've seen firsthand why having access to quality health care is so important. Just like the opportunities my family has for quality health care, I want for everyone in Prince George's County. We're building a brand new regional medical center in Prince George's County to take the place of the old falling down Prince George's Hospital. It's about integrating healthcare throughout the county, which was the goal of our administration from the very beginning. We wanted our government to be effective and efficient and to understand that our residents are our customers. Because if people don't believe the government's going to deliver for them, they don't turn to it. And I wanted people to believe that if they call 311 or if they access county stat, that we'd actually deliver those effective services for them. When people are most in need, whether it's from natural disasters, whether it's our social services or our family services, our health department, really delivering those services when they most are in need. And so I'm glad that we've been able to do that. Prince George's County is a leader and recognized by the Obama administration as being one of the top areas in the country when it comes to the environment. We lead the state in recycling. We lead the state in waste diversion. We have the largest composting facility on the East Coast, and we've created sustainable jobs out of the green economy.
I knew 2 things. I knew you, and I knew me. And I knew that if we worked together, wishes, dreams, hopes turn into reality. Today in this great county, It is a wish, it is a dream, and it was a hope that made us #1 in job creation. It was a wish, it was a dream, it was a hope that made $8 billion worth of development happening at once. It was a wish, and it was a dream, and it was a hope.
I want to thank the residents of Prince George's County for giving me an opportunity to live out my dream. Since I was 17 years old, I wanted to be in a position where I thought I could improve the quality of life for others. These last 8 years as county executive, the residents of this county have given me an opportunity I never thought I'd get. And there are times when I didn't think I deserved it. But I'm so appreciative of your belief in me. And I hope at the end of the day, you feel like I've done just a little good.
So I personally have always loved that video. My wife loves that video too. So getting back to the question. So we've actually gotten a slew of questions on Instagram about education. Let me bring Chandler up as well. So it says, what are your plans if Trump dismantles the Department of Education? How do we improve education in Prince George's County? And hold on, there's one more, I think. And also, too, is the idea that you would tell citizens not to vote for the governor when he is up for re-election if he doesn't support Prince George's County funding for education. So 3-part question there.
So let's start with the easy questions right after that great film. First of all, it's a real scare what's going to happen at the federal level with the Department of Education. Because even if Trump doesn't dismantle the Department of Education, it has a chilling effect. And so that means for us, especially when we have, our kids are getting funding from directly or indirectly from the state, and that is for Title I programs. That there are teachers now that are teaching Title I, our food programs that help us could be in jeopardy. And so what do we have to do at the county level? One is we have to push back, at the federal level and say, these are congressionally mandated things that have to happen. They're in the budget. And at the federal level, it is only Congress that has the power of the purse. And so we have to push back. But in the meantime, it's going to hit right here in Prince George's County, which is why, for me, I've said that we will fully fund our education system because it's that important. Now more so than ever, because we're going to have hits coming from the federal level. But it also means that the state level, they've got to step up to the plate. They have more resources, and I know this from having worked in the state for 8 years as a delegate, as a member of the Appropriations Committee, as a member of the Spending Affordability Committee on the state. They have more resources to go after revenues and send them back to the county. I'm asking the governor to do what I'm going to do as county executive and make a full commitment to public safety, to public education. I'll make a commitment to public safety, but the governor has to make a full commitment to our education system. This is not a time to backslide on that. And so we're going to hold them accountable because we need it. We've already got a federal government that's hostile to us. And that's the way you do it. We don't want to get into, what's going to happen in 2026. What we want to say to the governor and to our legislators, they're the ones that hold the power in Annapolis, with a very large delegation, both in the House and the Senate. The thing that I've learned as a delegate, as a leader of the House of Delegates for Prince George's County for 4 years, and as county executive, is we marshal all of our resources and say to the state, you can't pass a budget without the members of our delegation going along with it. And so we're going to hold them accountable. We're going to hold ourselves accountable. and we're going to hold the governor accountable.
Kevin, are you there? So I say thank goodness because Kevin has the questions.
Yeah, sorry about that. So follow up on that. Someone asked, what does fully fund mean?
That is an excellent question. And whoever asked it knows the education system well. So fully funds means when the superintendent submits the budget to the county, that we fund that budget. The superintendent and the county executive work out where we think the best, what can we afford as a county, but more importantly, what does the school system need? And so when I was county executive, I had a different philosophy than all the previous county executives. What they wanted the school system to do and the superintendent to do is to give them a budget that fit the budget that the county executive already put together. I went, left on that. I went to the superintendent when Dr. Maxwell was there and when I had the ability to pick the superintendent. And I said, tell me what would move us up in this state over the next 10 years. What do we need to do in the areas to make us a better school system for everybody, not just test scores, not just graduation rates, but what would make us more competitive? Hand that budget to me and let's figure out how we fund it. And so when I say fully funded, it is a budget that the school system has come to us with, that we worked on, that meets the needs to bring us in the next 5 to 10 years to be one of the best systems. And that's what I would insist on funding. So that's what I mean when I say fully fund.
Appreciate that. And thank you for the question. So hold on, scrolling through here. So we had some questions about seniors. I think that's one thing that, you've also received a slight bit of criticism about, is your implementation of senior programs in your first 8 years as county executive. Okay. So what are your plans for seniors should you be reelected?
So I will push back on those who talked about our senior program my first 2 terms as county executive. One of the things that we did coming into office was, and I understood this more so than anybody else, the need to have a robust program for our senior population in 2 areas. The first area is quality of life and access to healthcare and access to prescription drugs that aren't going to overcharge you. And so as a county government, we work really hard with our family services and our social services and our health department to provide a robust senior quality of life and access to facilities, to programs. We also work with Park and Planning, which has a number of programs they offer, and we work together to do that. There's some great women and men who are working in our social services and our family services department and our health department that are providing, great access, but they're doing it with limited resources. And so 2 ways we wanted to help out was teaming up with nonprofits. This is the area where we asked the faith community, the nonprofit community, to also team up with us to be able to offer greater programs. One of the things I'm really proud about is that we put on what is called a caregivers conference. And so in that caregivers conference, people who are caring for loved ones, people who are going to be caregivers, people who are both in assisted living and senior housing, that we offered, information, support, and technology to help them in there. And so we want to expand that. We want this to be the place where people age in place. We don't want folks to say, hey, I'm going to be in Prince George's County, and once I hit retirement or I hit 75, I'm going to go somewhere else where I can really age in place. We want you to stay here. And so we've got to make sure that we're providing you with options. And that also means living options. At some point, you might want to move to a mixed use development in Prince George's County where there are condos and there are townhouses and there are amenities where, places where you can eat. Or you want to move to senior living. We were at Riderwood earlier today, which is a great facility, but we need more of those throughout Prince George's County. So one of the things I'm committed to doing, not just because I'm a senior, but because I think it's good for the county, is to make sure as we're developing and we're looking for projects, once again, that we team up with our nonprofit and our faith community and the private sector, that we're looking at senior living facilities here that meet the needs, a cross section of needs of our county. And an area that we could do better is with our veterans. As a veteran, I know how important it is and how thankful I am. And what I brag about is that a lot of our veterans retire right here in Prince George's County. Well, we want them to stay here, not to go back to, other places. We want them to stay in this area. And so we want to make sure we're reaching out to the veteran community as they retire, making sure there are facilities that they feel connect them. And so as county executive, I want us to, especially, as I get older, I want us to make sure that we're providing the type of services and connectability to our senior community that make sure that they feel this is the place where they can age in place and be able to travel the world and come back home.
So there is one question here, and I'll just answer this myself for the sake of time because I know we already discussed it. It says, can you guarantee that you won't over police our youth when trying to increase public safety? And you got it. Go ahead.
No, let me say that was critically important to me. Remember, when I took over in 2010, we had some of the most horrific incidents of over policing in Prince George's County. I was around here, I ran in the 90s for the House of Delegates. And I also, as a student at Howard University in 1978, when I came here to go to school, one of the first things they told us at Howard was don't go to Prince George's County. You don't want to be stopped by the police there. And so that was ingrained in my mind. It almost made me afraid to get an apartment in Prince George's County in 1983 when I was in law school and I wanted to move out here. I give that background to say when I came in, one of the first things we demanded was, yes, we need to make sure we have a police force that can and a fire department and EMS that can deal with a county that's 500 square miles and almost 1 million people at the time. Now we're 1 million plus. And so, but we put in new training mechanisms on how to de-escalate situations, how to make sure that if we don't need to make an arrest and we don't have an interaction with the police department, you don't have these incidents that happen. That's why I'm so pleased when I talk about reducing crime, to historic lows. That was at the same time we were reducing arrests. That means we were doing things before it got the police involved. That means we were using more of our health department, more of our social workers, more of the other parts of our government that should be there. And so that made it easier for us to interact with citizens when they need us the most. That's why family services and family counseling was so important, that we were interacting with people who had issues, who had, as we all do, who needed somebody to speak to other than, before things got out of hand. And so once again, and my administration, as it was in the past, we will emphasize the fact that all of our government, and especially those in the police department and the sheriff's office and our park police are trained so that it's about protect and serve, not arrest, protect and serve.
Okay. And we're almost done, but I did want to circle back really quickly just because it's a good segue into that question. So earlier, someone had asked kind of about comparing like Mr. Baker's record on crime to what's happening right now. So I know that not everyone was on the call. So I will give just a brief overview of it again. And I want to note that our campaign is dedicated to using the best data source, which is the FBI Uniform Crime Reporting System. It's used by law enforcement agencies, government agencies, media, research, everyone. Any numbers that are being reported that are not these, oh, sorry, Kevin texted me. Any data that is being reported that says crime is down is not from the FBI and has not yet been verified. So please keep that in mind. The police stand with us when we say that crime is still up, and the police unions do stand with Mr. Baker. So I have my Excel sheet. Mr. Baker reduced homicides by 38%. They are currently up 82%. He reduced robberies by 60%. They are up 90. He reduced assaults by 49. They are up 45. He reduced burglaries by 68. Right now they are down 33%. He reduced larceny by 42%. It's only up 4. He reduced motor vehicle thefts by 53%. This is actually my biggest fear. They are up 261%. There's no reason I should have a steering wheel lock on my car like it's 1997.
Yeah, it's 2025, Chandler.
Huh?
I said it's 2025.
They be stealing cars, clearly. It's 261%. Arson is he reduced arson by 51. It's now down 96. And he reduced total crime by 50%, and it is up 47%. And I would like to also just note that I did do a comparison of how much our crime increased compared to the rest of Maryland, DC, and the nation, as people like to say, it's different now because of the pandemic. No, we are increasing disproportionately faster than the rest of the nation, the rest of Maryland, and even DC. So it's not the pandemic. Something's happening with us. And under Mr. Baker, we were beating national averages sometimes 2, 3, 4, 7-fold. And on one of our crimes, we were up 18-fold. I think it's carjackings or car thefts. All right, that was my spiel.
Appreciate you. So I know we're going to be shutting this down pretty soon. We got to head to church in the morning. Got a long schedule tomorrow, but
Yes,
we certainly appreciate all of the engagement and interaction tonight. This has been an awesome conversation. So just to close out, I want to 2 quick questions because our favorite super volunteer, Jerome Navies, asked, what's the first thing you're going to do in office? And then there was another question about what are you going to do between, in your first 6 months. So, I guess we can kind of loop all that into one question, and then we'll go to a closing after that.
Yeah, I think that the first thing I'm going to do after, as I said before, on March 5th, we'll begin to look at the budget. There's no time to waste. And so I will be meeting with the interim county executive and her staff about the budget as she had already prepared it. And that's Tara Jackson, what she's already prepared and what she's submitting to the council. And then I plan to be involved in those negotiations with the council so that we get a firsthand look. The other thing is to go to Wall Street. We immediately have to have businesses coming to Prince George's County, and they need to know that our credit rating is going to be top notch. And so my plan is to have off the record conversations with Wall Street. There's nothing wrong with that. I did it when I was going through the transition before, is that we talked to Wall Street to prepare them. And this time around, I've actually been before the rating agencies and I know them. So we'll do that. And then a conversation with Annapolis around the budget, the state budget, and making very clear what our expectations are as a county and as county executive, what we want to see come out of Annapolis, because there will be in short order. I won't be sworn in as county executive before they finish in Annapolis. So I need to make sure that our voice is heard there. And then finally, look at how we start to put back in place the programs that reduce crime in our county. So you got to deal with the budget, but you also have to deal with public safety. And so I'll start looking at, how do we bring T&I back? How do we work with our police department and the facets, and sit down with the women and men of our public safety who've endorsed this campaign to begin immediately working on it. And so that's our first 60 days before we're sworn in as officially as county executive. We'll begin to work. And I should say this is no new task for me. When I won in 2010, immediately, almost a short time after that, the FBI had arrested the previous county executive. And so it meant that we didn't have a traditional transition team. We had to immediately begin working on what the budget was going to look like and what the government was going to look like, because there wasn't going to be an immediate, a typical transition. So I'm used to that. That's why it's important to have somebody who, and maybe this is the closing statement, Kevin. This is why, experience is not just, a luxury. It's a necessity. In these times that we're living in, when you have to immediately become county executive, you don't have time to wait. This is no time to have a learning curve. You need to be able to get in there, roll up your sleeves and get to work, immediately. And that's something that we can do. We need to have a sense of urgency about this election, because we need the person in there that's county executive to have a sense of urgency about making sure we're getting everything we need to do done. Just think about it. I named two areas, the economy and crime and public safety, but also we could be talking about immediately negotiating around the commanders and making sure they stay here and not sitting on the sidelines right now. It's a one-way conversation about the commanders. Only DC and the federal government is talking. We're not talking right here in Prince George's County, and the county executive has to do that. The FBI, we have to immediately go and start lobbying and negotiating and working on making sure we not only keep the FBI here, but that begins immediately. And so this is the time where we need that person that can go in there and know where the bathroom is and how to actually get to Annapolis and get to Capitol Hill so that we can start right away, and also get to Wall Street. And so for me, that's why it's so important. That's why we're asking you for your help. I'm in the race to make this county better. I love this county. This is where I chose to live, is where I chose to raise my family. And I want to do everything I can to make it the best that it can be. But I need your help. We need you you have your ballots right now. We need you to fill it out, vote for this campaign. We need you to come to early voting if that's what you want to do, and make sure you're voting for Rushern Baker. And we need you on March 4th. We can win this with your help. And if you have the ability, for these last weeks, we're fighting against people, especially one of our opponents, who can ask a billionaire to help fund her campaign. We're fighting against that. And so any donations you can make this weekend and Monday to the campaign to help us get our message out there would be greatly appreciated. We're thankful for the support, both in personnel and financially, that we're getting from our public safety unions. Thank you very much. Fire and EMS, police department, park and planning, deputy sheriffs, all for stepping up, 911 operators for stepping up in personnel and financially. Thank you, Treasurer Davis and Sydney Harrison, for your donation. And thank you, Vote Vets. Our veterans are really coming through. As one of two veterans who's running for county executive, I'm pleased to have our veterans, one of the largest political organizations support, recognizing my time as a JAG officer in the Army Reserves. So, but I say all that to say, help us win this campaign, help us make Prince George's County better, and help us get the type of government we deserve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. B. We certainly appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule, and I can speak for folks online as well. They're certainly pleased that you took the time out to speak with them this evening too. Um, there are just some follow-up questions, not for you, for us. So he did just say, but I want to say it more clearly. Naomi asked about your endorsements. So he just this week got the endorsements of our public safety coalition, which includes our firefighters and EMS, Prince George's County Police Department, the deputy sheriffs, as well as Maryland National Capital Park Police, as well as our Prince George's County Citizen Police organization as well, which includes the 911 operators. He was also endorsed by State Treasurer Derek Davis and Councilman Sidney Harrison. And as he mentioned earlier, he hasn't always been so big on endorsements. But I would also like to mention that we've been endorsed by the president of County Executives of America, as well as the governor of Delaware as well. So,
yeah, I want to add that.
And vote bets.
That's right. And vote bets. Yep. But, you know, to have your colleagues from the County Executive of America and a number of former county executives who's come through the leadership program endorse the campaign, to me, has been, you know, heartfelt. It means that they not only, especially the governor of Delaware and the president, you know, to have someone who came through our leadership class, who is now the governor of Delaware, to support the campaign, and former county executives to come on. These are the men and women who know you best and who are doing it because they've seen you work day in and day out. So we're proud of those endorsements.
Yep.
Yes.
And also shout out to, I was going to say shout out to former county executive Laura Newman from Anne Arundel County as well for her support. Go ahead, Shannon.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say that I wanted to note how rigorous the process is of public safety endorsements. So they interviewed the candidates on past performance, future plans, character, track record, and Mr. Baker was able to wow them all with his performance. And when the police unions are backing you, that means that they think you are the one who will help them best fight crime the way they need to. So for me, that one speaks volumes.
Leadership we can trust. All right. Well, everybody, I appreciate you again for joining us. I am going to play the commercial once again because I know that there are some new folks that joined us, but the three of us will be disappearing to our quarters for the night so that we can get some sleep before the long day.
No, I have one thing. So everyone should have received a mail-in ballot around January 22nd-ish. We need you all to go tonight, fill out your ballot, and mark it for Rushern Baker. Kevin can drop a link in the chat with Dropbox locations and in-person and early voting locations. Kevin, I texted you the link.
Yep, it's rushernbaker.com/links. There's a button that's on there that allows you to view both the early voting locations as well as the Dropbox locations to drop your ballot back in. And if you feel like being a little lazy, you don't, or you can't leave your house because you're just unable to, you can also put it right back in your mailbox, and then the mailwoman will come and pick that up for you, and they will drop it off to the Board of Elections. So technically, you don't even have to leave your house to vote. Okay. And someone also asked, when will we do this again? We're going to try to go as live as much as we can. It's definitely a lot going on as we're leading into this. Well, today was 10 days until the actual election. So, you know, we'll be back on here as soon as we can. Hopefully, typically we try to get on in the morning for coffee. So maybe we could do Monday morning. Be on the lookout. Just look out for that live red circle that pops up on all the platforms and catch us here. But again, we appreciate you all for joining us, and we're out. Peace.
Thanks for joining us. Go vote.
We got work to do, and this is the man that can do it. And for that reason, ladies and gentlemen, I am giving all of my enthusiastic support to Rushern Baker to be the next county executive.
In Kennedy City on a Hill, he projected 4 years down the road and said, what do I want people to remember of this government?
Our success or failure in whatever office we may hold will be measured by the answers to 4 questions. First, were we truly men of courage?
Right now, say we are moving straight ahead.
Secondly, were we truly men of judgment?
Invested in economic development growth, because we know in the long run, creating jobs and opportunities is what's going to get us back to what we should be doing.
Third, were we truly men of integrity? Finally, were we truly men of dedication?
That became the focus to me of what I hope to be the Baker administration. We were not willing just to sit on our hands or play it safe. We were courageous in going after economic development. Thriving economy was important at a $75 million budget deficit, when we were leading the nation in foreclosures, when Wall Street was threatening to take away our AAA bond rating. And we believed in our county so much that we took $50 million and bet on ourselves to invest in ourselves. Having the thriving economy was important, and we did it. From National Harbor to the Suitland Town Center to New Carrollton. The other area where we were courageous, I believe, is our Transforming Neighborhoods initiative, where we said the government was going to focus on areas that I felt had been forgotten. The 6 areas of our county at that time that were in the worst shape. All indicators showed that those areas were going in the wrong direction. We were going to commit ourselves to not leaving until they change. I think the beauty of T&I in the areas is that there are groups of citizens who now know how to access and get government to deliver for them. When I took over as county executive, our school system had gone from 132,000 children to 124,000 to where we are today at 133,000. And we're gaining each year. People are now putting their kids back because they believe that our school system now can offer them a chance for them to get a quality education. Our education system is the best it's been in almost 35 years. For the first time, our education budget is $2 billion. We as a county committed to give more money ourselves, not from the state, but from the county, to our education system. And it was hard. It was a hard-fought thing to do, but we did it as a county. The county is the safest it's ever been. If you think about the 2018 county executive race, crime was not the issue. I know that we've done a good job on safe neighborhoods. Not when I can look at the numbers and it tells me crime is down. It's that when I walk into a place and I talk to people and they feel safer, that they feel it themselves, then we know we've done our job. I've seen firsthand why having access to quality health care is so important. Just like the opportunities my family has for quality health care, I want for everyone in Prince George's County. We're building a brand new regional medical center in Prince George's County to take the place of the old falling down Prince George's Hospital. It's about integrating healthcare throughout the county, which was the goal of our administration from the very beginning. We wanted our government to be effective and efficient, and to understand that our residents are our customers. Because if people don't believe the government's going to deliver for them, they don't turn to it. And I wanted people to believe that if they call 311 or if they access county stat, that we'd actually deliver those effective services for them. When people are most in need, whether it's from natural disasters, whether it's our social services or our family services, our health department, really delivering those services when they most are in need. And so I'm glad that we've been able to do that. Prince George's County is a leader and recognized by the Obama administration as being one of the top areas in the country when it comes to the environment. We lead the state in recycling. We lead the state in waste diversion. We have the largest composting facility on the East Coast, and we've created sustainable jobs out of the green economy.
I knew two things. I knew you, and I knew me. And I knew that if we worked together, wishes, dreams, hopes turn into reality. Today in this great county, it is a wish, it is a dream, and it was a hope that made us #1 in job creation. It was a wish, it was a dream, it was a hope that made $8 billion worth of development happening at once. It was a wish, and it was a dream, and it was a hope.
I want to thank the residents of Prince George's County for giving me an opportunity to live out my dream. Since I was 17 years old, I wanted to be in a position where I thought I could improve the quality of life for others. These last 8 years as county executive, the residents of this county have given me an opportunity I never thought I'd get. And there are times when I didn't think I deserved it. But I'm so appreciative of your belief in me. And I hope at the end of the day, you feel like I've done just a little good.